Part 2 of Full Court Press Basketball Debate. February 23rd. Chris Guyette here with Yvonne Juneau. The trade deadline just passed on Thursday. So that's what this part is going to be mainly about. Okay? Kendrick Perkins got traded to Utah on Thursday. And Utah bought out his contract. And then Kendrick Perkins signed with Cleveland. Yvonne Juneau, how much will this help the Cavs and why?
Before I tell you how much this is going to help the Cavs one way or the other, I would like for you to try and explain to me on the air why it is that you think Utah did not want him.
Number one.
Did it all have to do with money?
Number one, his attitude. That's not Utah's type of play. Kendrick Perkins is a hothead.
He's got a major attitude.
I don't think they want that in the locker room.
He's always had one. He had one when he was a Hornet.
Number two, he wasn't a Hornet. He was a Celtic.
A Celtic, I mean.
Number two, money. Number three, his age. He's 36 years old. Utah's average age.
I forgot about that.
Utah's average age on their team is 25.
Okay, couldn't they have looked at him as a veteran player?
Maybe. But then you go to the attitude part. They don't want that in the locker room.
So if he would have had the vintage part of him, but more as a mentor without the attitude, it would have been different.
I believe so.
Okay.
So how much will this help the Cavs? If at all. Or do you think it was a bad move?
Oh no, because LeBron's going to keep him in line. I don't think he can keep his attitude. I think that's LeBron's team. Come on. LeBron's going to keep him in line. He's still going to have... Oh, am I saying his attitude's going to disappear just because he joined the Cavs? Absolutely not. And is he maybe going to join that team thinking that he can push his attitude down anybody's throat? He might try it. But we can't argue the fact that he's a damn good player. He is a good player when he doesn't have a chip on his shoulder. LeBron's going to take care of that attitude. I'm not worried about that attitude being part of the Cavs at all.
This move tells me that the Cleveland Cavaliers are making a run for the NBA championship.
Oh,
not for 3 years down the road. For this year.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? What Kendrick Perkins provides to Cleveland is something that not a lot of players can provide. Number one, his age.
Mm-hmm.
Been there, done that, got a ring to prove it. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
His skills, his skill set. Is he great offensively? No, he's not. I wouldn't even call him good offensively because that's not where he makes his living. He makes his living rebounding the basketball, and he makes his living defensively. Okay? We all know about Cleveland's defense. It's mediocre at best. Outside of LeBron James, it is mediocre at best.
Right.
And we know this man isn't going to start. Timofey Mozgov has proven that he can start at the center position in Cleveland in place of Anderson Varejao. But Kendrick Perkins is okay with coming off of the bench.
Mm-hmm.
Can't say that about a lot of players. So if Mozgov gets in foul trouble, all right, we'll send Kendrick Perkins in there. What other team can say that? Besides maybe San Antonio. If Danny Green gets in foul trouble, okay, here's Manu Ginobili.
Right.
I mean, it's comparable. So it's something that not a lot of other players can provide for a team. They're making a run at the title. That's what it comes down to. Great move.
You forgot a factor that goes along with the fact that he is all about defense. He's intimidating on the floor.
He is?
Put Perkins in the middle of the floor.
Not a lot of players are going to try to challenge him head on.
Exactly. That would be like trying to guard or take on Shaq when he used to be on the floor.
Or Dwight Howard.
Or Dwight Howard. Okay? He's an intimidation factor, and not a lot of teams have that player
Correct.
that's an intimidation factor.
That is
And
correct.
Perk is an intimidation. The look on his face is enough to make him
Yeah.
an intimidation factor.
Yeah. Great move for Cleveland.
I think so too.
Great move.
I think so too.
Just a couple of quick games to discuss. Golden State beats the Spurs. This was last week. Behind Curry and Thompson. What, if anything, does this game show you?
That anybody can be beat on any given night? Let's be perfectly honest. Anybody can be beat on any given night.
This game shows me absolutely nothing. And here's why.
Oh, I'm not saying that they won because their skill set is so much higher or that they're better.
No.
I'm saying any team can be beat. If it's not your night, it's not your night.
But that wasn't even the case in this game. Golden State was off for 2 days before they got the before they got the Spurs in this game. The Spurs were on a back-to-back. This was the second of a back-to-back. This was not the Spurs they were playing. Come on. Come on. At home, of course Golden State's going to beat the Spurs on the second of a back-to-back.
Right.
Make this game the first of a back-to-back, and
No.
my money's on San Antonio.
Absolutely.
This game shows me nothing. And people are the reason I did this so randomly is because people are making a big deal out of it.
Oh,
Because the
I don't
Spurs
think-
are the defending
I
champions.
don't think it
Stop.
proves anything.
Stop. But the next game does. Toronto routs Atlanta in the battle of Eastern foes. Yvonne Juno, what, if anything, does this game prove to you?
Same thing I just said about the Spurs and Golden State.
Wow.
That anybody can be beat on any given night. However, wait, I'm not done. However, I think it also says that you shouldn't ignore or take Toronto for granted. They're a lot better than they're being given credit for. Okay? That's what I think this shows. But I still go back to the fact that anybody can be beat on any given night. It shows me more about, second part, shows me more about the fact that Toronto was more prepared, wanted it more, and played better than Atlanta did. They wanted this game. They had something to prove. You can't tell me you disagree with that.
This game proves to me that Toronto, in a 7-game series, can beat the Atlanta Hawks. And why does this one game prove that to me? Because these two teams have played 4 times this year. 4 times. Toronto has won 3 of them. If this was just one game, I wouldn't say too much about it. This is 3 times Toronto has beaten Atlanta this year.
I did not realize that.
That says something.
Okay, I didn't realize that. I also did not realize that it was a 25-point spread. And they beat them in Atlanta.
Yeah, okay, but 3 out of 4 times.
Yeah. But they didn't just beat them. They beat them by 25
That
points.
says something.
Yeah. Yeah.
Maybe Atlanta isn't as good as we think they are. Maybe Toronto is better
That's what I just
than
said.
people are giving them credit
That's
for.
what I
Or
just
maybe
said.
it's a combination of both.
Well,
Is this one of those kryptonite situations? Atlanta can beat every team in the league except Toronto?
maybe. Maybe. It may be. I think they're both going to be in the playoffs, so we
I think
will
they're going to be
see.
the 1 and 2 seeds in the
Yeah.
playoffs.
So
If not
we will
Toronto, if not Toronto in that 2 seed, it's going to be Cleveland with the way Cleveland's playing right now.
see. Yeah.
Okay?
Regardless, they're both going to be in the playoffs.
And I'm going to take you back to our debate before the All-Star break. The one before the All-Star break. We were talking about Atlanta. And one of the questions was, do you think Atlanta will be the number 1 seed in the Eastern Conference playoffs? We both said yes.
Yeah.
And I stand by that.
Uh-huh.
But I had a condition. I wanted to see how they do after the All-Star break.
Yeah, because things
8
always
days,
change right.
8 days.
Of not
For
playing.
them it was 9 days
Yeah.
without a basketball game. Stops momentum dead in its tracks. This was a very neutral game. Very as neutral as it gets. Because nobody had played the night before.
Right.
It was the All-Star break. Nobody had played.
Right.
It was an even playing field.
Right.
And Toronto was
Nobody
25.
had an advantage over the other.
Toronto was 25 notches better than Atlanta in Atlanta.
In Atlanta.
That says something to
yeah.
me.
If it had gone into overtime or they would have won by 2 or 3 or 4 points, that would be one thing.
I would still give them credit, but not as much credit as I'm giving them for this.
No.
And I still go back.
On the road, 25 points.
I still go back to 3 out of 4 games.
That I did not know.
That says something to
well,
me.
I don't keep up with
Because
stats like you.
Because in a
I did
7-game
not know.
series, if you're up 3-1, you have nothing but momentum on your side. 1 game is all you need to move on. Big, and Atlanta better watch themselves. Because if you think that Cleveland is not looking at the result of this game,
Oh yeah, they're keeping.
if you think Chicago, with the way Derrick Rose has been
Toronto
playing,
has to play Atlanta one more time.
no,
That was it.
that's a season series. Toronto 3-1.
Okay.
Chicago, with the way Derrick Rose performed against Cleveland right before the All-Star break, 30 points, 8 assists. With the way they're playing, they have their starting lineup back. With that starting lineup this season, they're 14-4. If you think they're not looking at this game and saying, oh, yeah, we can do this too. Washington, even though they're losing right now, come playoff time, Paul Pierce is going to elevate that team. If you think the truth is not looking at this game saying, all right, they can't do it in a big game situation. Is he right? Looks like it to me. They're looking at it.
If this is any indication, yeah.
Atlanta has now become the hunted. Watch out. Let's talk trade deadline. Okay, anybody that keeps up with the NBA knows that Goran Dragic was unhappy in Phoenix. Okay, he got traded to Miami, which we'll talk about, and Brandon Knight ended up going to Phoenix to take Goran Dragic's spot. Phoenix's GM on the Dragic trade, quote, "We got the best player." Yvonne Juno, you agree or disagree, and
Now
why?
tell me who got who.
Dragic went to Miami, and Brandon Knight ended up in Phoenix.
Okay.
Agree or disagree, and why?
I'm not sure. Why don't you give me the pros and cons?
100% agree. there's no doubt in my mind that Brandon Knight. Who's the better point guard? Dragic.
Okay.
Who's the better player? Brandon Knight. It's been very obvious, okay? But at what cost, Yvonne? At what cost did you get the best player? Because you had to give up Dragic, Miles Plumlee, Tyler Ennis,
I still don't understand.
and Isaiah Thomas.
I still don't understand what Phoenix was thinking when they made
For
this move.
Brandon Knight?
I don't get it.
And this is not a knock on Brandon Knight. He's a good player.
No, but my God, it's not like they traded apples for
It's
apples.
not. You're absolutely right. Yeah, they got the best player. But at what cost, Yvonne? At what cost? Your season. That's at what cost. Because now OKC's in 8th. Not Phoenix.
Right.
Ain't nobody chasing Phoenix anymore.
No.
Now you're chasing the MVP
Why
in my
would
mind.
you give up Isaiah Thomas to begin with?
Now you're chasing the MVP in my mind, Russell Westbrook, and those boys.
I don't understand the whole logic behind the whole thing. Do you know something
No.
I don't?
I don't.
Is Isaiah Thomas hard to deal with?
I wouldn't imagine so. The man deserves to start, and he's coming off the bench in Phoenix. I don't imagine he's hard to work with. Judging by his daddy, and judging by what I've seen over the past seasons, I can't
I
say.
don't understand. I don't understand. Okay, if you're trading one player for one player, that's one thing. But my God, the deck was so stacked. Why give up all those people just to get one player?
I don't know. Reggie Jackson traded to Detroit. Reggie Jackson was unhappy with his role in Oklahoma City, backing up Russell Westbrook. One could see why he's unhappy with that.
Of course.
Okay. Traded to Detroit. Good or bad move for Detroit, and why?
Good move for Detroit. Number one reason. Because if Reggie Jackson is happy now, he's going to perform better. Let's be perfectly honest. And would you want to sit on the bench with Russell Westbrook playing? Come on.
Valid.
Really?
It's valid.
The man plays almost the entire game. Something happens to Russell, OKC can kiss it goodbye.
That's right.
I'm telling you.
That's right. Great move for Detroit. But I'm going to say for a different reason. They need a point guard.
Yeah.
Brandon Jennings went out for the year. ACL. Boom.
Yeah.
Done. They were out of a point guard for what, a month?
Yep.
Now they got one.
Yep.
Reggie Jackson's a good fit in Detroit.
Well, that's kind of like what happened to us, which I'm sure.
Reggie Jackson, great fit in Detroit. His first game in Detroit, they beat Chicago.
We are going to get to it, huh?
What's that?
The Pelicans get.
Yeah, we'll talk about Norris Cole.
Okay.
It's not on here, but we're going to talk about it.
Okay, well, it's the same scenario.
Right. No, first game Reggie Jackson played in Detroit, they beat Chicago.
Yeah.
I mean, what does that say?
Yeah.
Boston receives Isaiah Thomas in a deal with Phoenix and Detroit. How much will Isaiah help Boston, Yvonne?
Tremendously. How much would Isaiah Thomas help any team that he went to?
If used in the right way, very much.
That's my point. I still don't understand why it happened, but of course he's going to help them. He would help any team that he went to that was in need of that kind of help.
I like Isaiah Thomas in gang green, man. That's all I know. He looks good in that Boston jersey. Okay? He's gonna provide. Look, you're gonna crap yourself. Hold on to your seat. I am gonna compare Isaiah Thomas and Rajon
I knew you were
Rondo.
going to. They've got the same quality player back. Is that what you were going to say?
No. They have what Boston hasn't had in a very long time is a point guard.
Who's aggressive and knows how to play.
No, because Rondo is aggressive when he wants to be.
Oh, yeah, I
Okay.
understand that. But I'm saying when they were without Isaiah and they were without Rondo, they had nobody.
They haven't had a point guard that is capable on a nightly basis
Right.
of scoring 20 a game
I follow you.
and dishing out six.
And now
six
they
to
do
8 assists. It has been since Kenny Anderson back in the late '90s with Antoine Walker and those boys. He's going to elevate them. I mean, he's their starting point guard for the future.
Yeah.
He better be if they're smart.
Yeah.
Milwaukee acquires Michael Carter Williams. And this was a good debate topic on First Take. Is Michael Carter Williams, in your mind, Yvonne Juno, an upgrade from Brandon Knight? Why or why not?
Not necessarily. They both have their strengths and their weaknesses. I don't understand why it happened. I don't understand why Philadelphia would give up the only person.
There's a very personal reason why that happened.
Okay, enlighten me.
They did that not for themselves, but for Michael.
He was that unhappy.
No. They knew that he deserved better than he was getting.
I have never heard of a
It's
professional
happened.
team.
That's why Allen Iverson left Philadelphia. Nobody loved Philadelphia more than Allen Iverson. But AI told him, look, guys.
That's like the mama bird pushing the baby bird out of the nest so
Look.
that it can learn to fly.
He said, look, guys, if we're not going to win games, I love this city, I love this team, but if we're not going to win games, I don't know what I'm going to do. So they said, all right, Allen, we're going to send you to Denver. Best of luck in your endeavors.
So you think they did this strictly for Michael Carter Williams' sake?
They did.
Then they cut their own nose to spite their face?
Yes, they did.
Well.
But they're in a totally rebuilding stage. The team has 13 wins.
I know.
Let's be honest.
I know.
Okay. Is Michael Carter Williams an upgrade from Brandon Knight? It's a downgrade in scoring. It is an upgrade in everything else.
Well, that's why I said
Let me tell
Yes
you,
and
let,
no.
let me give you a stat here. And this stat is going to astound you. Okay? There are 2 players in the entire NBA that are averaging 15 points, 8 assists, and 7 rebounds per game. 2. Russell Westbrook and Michael Carter Williams.
okay.
I call that an upgrade.
I didn't realize that.
And here's something everybody's forgetting. Michael Carter Williams is about to elevate this Milwaukee team to a level we haven't seen since Ray Allen played for Milwaukee because of who his head coach is. Jason Kidd coaches the Milwaukee Bucks. Jason Kidd at the point guard position scored, rebounded, and assisted, and stole the ball like a maniac. They play exactly alike. You watch Michael Carter Williams on the court, it's a taller Jason Kidd. Hello. That's why Chris Paul and Byron Scott got along so well. I mean, get ready, because Milwaukee is right in the mix in the East. Right now they're the 6th seed. They could sneak their way up there, and they're going to be dangerous, especially with Carter Williams running this offense. That's my view on it. That's my view on it. I love it. Great move.
Okay.
Phoenix acquires Brandon Knight. Same question. How much will Knight help Phoenix?
And he's gonna do a good job, but in lieu of what they had to give up to
Right.
get him, I really don't think that it's not like they got a Kobe Bryant or a Tony Parker
Right.
or a LeBron James.
Right.
You don't give up so much to get that one person who is good, but not great.
Right. Right.
Sorry.
Right. No, I agree.
I'm not saying they downgraded.
They did, though.
Wait.
In
I'm
the
not
big
saying-
picture,
Right.
they downgraded.
I'm not saying they downgraded as far as his skill set, but if you take into account everything that they had to give up
Right.
to get him,
They did.
I don't understand what they're. I still don't understand
Me
why
either.
they did it, especially because of the position they were in at the time and with the wins that they had.
Right. Me either. I don't know. I don't know.
Is there a bigger picture that I'm not seeing?
I'm not seeing it either. So, and then the two big ones. Miami acquires Goran Dragic in a blockbuster deal. Good or bad move for Miami, and why?
Well, that was a good move. That was a good move. Don't you think so?
Great move. Simply because Dwayne Wade is injury prone at this stage of his career.
Well, he never was, but he is all of a sudden.
Chris Bosh is out for the season.
Right. They need somebody to play.
They need somebody that can score
Yeah.
and run the offense and is a smart, intelligent, high IQ basketball player, and that is Goran Dragic. There's really not too much to say about this because it's such a good fit in my mind.
Right.
And now, you had a lot to say about this one off the air. Kevin Garnett goes back home to Minnesota. Your thoughts and how, if at all, will KG help Minnesota?
Well,
You had a lot to say about this.
Okay. Well, number one, I am happy if he's happy. Obviously, he wanted to go back. That's home. Okay? Where he started his career, where he made a name for himself. Obviously, Minnesota embraced him coming back. Of course, he's going to help them. Because he's going to be happy. I think a player being happy on the team that he's playing for, do not underestimate that factor. I know I sound like Skip Bayless. I know that they're supposed to put all their personal feelings aside, and they're professionals, and they're supposed to play regardless of if they're happy or not, and do their best. But let's be real here. If they're unhappy, they're not going to play. They're not going to give it that extra 10, 15, 20% over and above 100 to do what they need to do for their hometown and if they're happy where they are. He's going to probably play better than he played before. However, if he goes back with the same sucky attitude and Mr. Know-It-all, and with his hot head, and with his temper, and wanting to take over the team, and wanting to run ramrod over everybody, it's going to backfire. It's inevitable. It's inevitable. And my question to you, Chris, is, has he been away from Minnesota so long and cultivated these bad habits now for so long that he thinks he's going to go back to Minnesota? And yes, personally, he may be happy, but he may go out on that floor and alienate every one of those team players, and they're going to regret getting him back. Is he going to carry that attitude that he's been having now for years back to Minnesota with him and think now that he can run the team? I'm playing devil's advocate here.
People are misguided. Kevin Garnett has had that attitude. People seem to think that he didn't have that attitude till he went to Boston. And that could not be further from the truth.
No, but it got worse.
He has had the attitude and the hot-headedness since his first stint in Minnesota. But allow me to state for the record that this man is Minnesota's all-time leader in games played, points, rebounds, assists, steals, and player efficiency rating.
Good.
This man
But that he did all that when he was happy.
is looked at as a role model for a very young Minnesota squad. Is he going to come back and call the shots? No, he's not. But is he going to come back?
Who's going to stop him?
But is he going to come back and lead this team from a physical, mental, and emotional aspect? Yes, he is.
Oh, I totally disagree.
Wait, then who's going to do it?
I totally.
Who's going to do it?
You can honestly sit there and tell me that you see KG as a mentoring person for the younger players. We're not talking about Paul Pierce here. Paul Pierce left, went to a different team, and they look at him as the mentor on that team. That is perfectly understandable. I do not see Kevin Garnett as being a role model for these younger players, as an emotional mentor for them. I don't. I'm sorry.
Then who is?
I don't.
Then who is?
Well, that's a coach's job.
On the court, that's the coach's job.
No.
Okay, so whose job is it then? You got to have someone on the floor that when something good happens, pounds their chest. Someone that gets excited. Someone that screams when something good happens.
That's not what I call a mentor.
It's an emotional leader.
Okay.
That's what I said.
No, you said a
Leading-
mentor.
I said leading this team in an emotional, physical, and mental aspect. And I disagree with you about the mentor part. I'm sorry, if this man is the franchise leader in 5 different statistical categories, he should be looked at as a
How many years
mentor.
ago was that?
From 95 to 07.
Okay, and that's when he was happy there.
Who said he's not happy here? Why the hell you think he went back?
No. I said he's going to be happy again. But has he cultivated enough bad habits during the time that he's been gone for 8 years?
I don't know.
Now,
Winning a ring in Boston doesn't sound like a bad habit to me.
he didn't win that ring by himself.
He was the MVP.
He didn't win that ring
He
by
was the
himself.
MVP.
He didn't do it by himself.
And he was the defensive player of the year. Give him credit.
And Paul Pierce had nothing to do with that.
I didn't say that, but give Kevin Garnett credit for leading the team. Yes, I am telling you Kevin Garnett was the leader of that Boston Celtics team. Because I can prove it to you.
Throw me some stats. I know that's what you're getting ready to do.
The leader of a team. What from a statistical purpose?
You're going to talk to me about statistics. I was going to talk to you analytically. What constitutes a leader for me? Somebody that the other younger team players, somebody who's having a bad night, somebody who's not on his game that night, somebody who's got issues or problems or whatever, whether it be personal, professional, a problem with the coach, a problem with another teammate, whatever, that they can go to this person and say, okay, I need a sounding board. I need somebody that I can vent to. I do not see Kevin Garnett as that person. I'm sorry. To me, that's what a leader is. You want to throw stats at me? Throw stats at me. That does not make a leader to me. That means he's the best player on the team. That I agree with. That does not constitute a leader or a mentor to me. You and I have obviously got a very big difference of opinion about what constitutes a leader or a mentor. Right? He probably does have the best stats. I don't know. You're the statistician, not me.
What constitutes a leader? Someone that plays the game with passion. Someone that plays the game with emotion.
Okay.
Someone that comes through in big moments.
Okay.
Someone that can be looked to win a game.
Okay.
Someone that can be looked to for guidance.
Yeah.
Someone that wins.
You just described Paul Pierce perfectly.
So when the Celtics won that ring in 2008, Paul Pierce was pounding his chest on the floor. Paul Pierce was playing with emotion. Paul Pierce was the guy banging his head on the goal before every game to get himself hyped up.
You could go.
Please avoid the question. Please avoid the answer. Please.
No, he didn't pound his
Who was?
Kevin Garnett.
Right. And who was the MVP of the finals that year?
Are you trying to tell me that you have never said that they don't call him Mr. Clutch for nothing?
The truth. He is the truth.
Okay.
Damn right he's the truth. But you know what? Who went out and said, hey guys, let's get Kevin Garnett so I can win a ring? Because I'm tired of losing. I'm tired of not making the playoffs. Before Kevin Garnett showed up in 2007, it had been 9 years since Paul Pierce even made the playoffs.
Okay.
Boston did not recruit Kevin Garnett. Paul Pierce recruited Kevin Garnett.
And you see Kevin Garnett joining Minnesota, with absolutely no ripples in the pond, no hot-headedness.
Not in Minnesota.
I guess time will tell.
In Brooklyn? Yes, he did. Yes, he did. I'm not arguing that Kevin Garnett has an attitude. I'm not arguing that Kevin Garnett is a hothead. I'm not arguing that.
Baby, he did it where he was supposed to be happy and won a ring. What makes you think he's not...
Right! He did it in Boston!
Right.
And he won a ring in Boston.
But he still had a shitty attitude.
Who cares if you win in rings? Oh wait, Dennis Rodman! Dennis Rodman! You want to talk
Nobody wants
attitude?
him.
Oh, Chicago wanted him. Michael Jordan wanted Dennis Rodman. I got news for you. Michael Jordan wanted Dennis Rodman
All I'm
on his
saying
team.
is I'm not doubting his playing ability.
I'm not even talking about his playing ability right now.
I'm telling you that if he is still having the same mindset, and if he is still the hothead, getting the technicals fouls, getting thrown out of the games, having the attitude a time bomb waiting to go off. Now that he's back home where he's supposed to be happy again, if he has carried the last year's worth of attitudes back home with him, it's not going to be smooth sailing. And I do not see him as a mentoring person.
Let me give you a comparison. When we went and saw the Pelicans, the first game that we went and saw this year against the San Antonio Spurs, a game that we were not supposed to win. And Anthony Davis tied up Tim Duncan, yanked the ball right out of his hands, and screamed at the top of his lungs, "Let's effing go." Do you remember that?
Yes.
What's the difference between him doing that and Kevin Garnett doing that?
None.
Absolutely nothing.
None.
Absolutely nothing.
Absolutely. I agree with that. I agree with that. Is AD known for doing that in every game?
No, it's
Kevin Garnett has a history.
What's wrong
of
with
doing
that? What's wrong with getting hype in a game? What's wrong with that? Do you honestly think Paul Pierce, when he recruited Kevin Garnett to Boston in 2007, recruited him because of his playing skill? You honestly think Paul Pierce
I would
couldn't
hope that had something to do.
Maybe a little something, but you think Paul Pierce couldn't have carried Boston by himself? Of course he could have. It's Paul Pierce. That's not why he wanted Kevin Garnett in Boston. He wanted Kevin Garnett in Boston for the emotion.
For his
He
anger.
wanted to feel something.
For his anger.
Maybe.
Kevin Garnett is an angry person.
It comes with
He's
the
an
territory.
angry player.
It comes with the territory. Did they not win the ring? Paul Pierce could have kicked. From a skill
You know
standpoint,
what? From a skill standpoint and a playing standpoint, I agree with you 100%.
I'm not talking about a skill standpoint. I'm not even dwelling on that.
Okay.
Because I don't think
But
that's the biggest thing that he brings to Minnesota.
But from a mentoring and leading standpoint,
Are you missing my comparison here?
no.
Paul Pierce recruited Kevin Garnett to Boston not because of KG's playing ability. Paul Pierce could have carried that damn team himself if he wanted to do it by skill. He did it for 10 years, but he wasn't feeling any emotion. His heart wasn't there. He didn't get to the playoffs. Not because of skill, but because they didn't have that guy, that grit guy, inside, that brought out emotion in players. They didn't have it. And then Paul Pierce saw that Paul Pierce did not have that guy.
We're going to have to agree to disagree on this one. I'm telling you. Telling you. Because what you see as grit, as what you see as passion, what you see as something that is going to make the team want to fight harder and want to try harder, I see as poor attitude, poor sportsmanship, hot-headedness. I don't see it the same way you see it. I'm sorry. I have a right to my opinion too. And I do not see it. Yeah, he's going to want to make them fight harder. If nothing else, but to keep his temper under control. I'm sorry. You and I do not see KG in the same way. You said when the season first started, I don't even remember what game it was, but you said yourself, he needs to get himself under control. He's like a ticking time bomb. Now, do some teams maybe need that? Maybe he will get himself under control, and that passion, that grit, and that anger, and that maybe it will do them some good. But when it gets to the point that he starts getting flagrant fouls, starts getting ejected from the game, starts having nothing but technicals and the other team is profiting from it, that's not good.
And again, I tell you, that happened in Boston.
Okay? Okay? But Boston, you're contradicting yourself. Now, wait a minute. Okay, that happened in Boston. That's also where he won his ring.
Right!
He won it by acting like that.
Did Kevin Garnett's emotion
Make them want to play harder. Yeah. Okay.
That is why Paul Pierce wanted him. If Paul Pierce recruits Kevin Garnett, what are we missing here?
And I will concede to that. But in your opinion, he's never gone off the deep end.
I never said that.
Okay.
But I'm also not faulting him for getting hyped during a game.
Okay.
Because if Anthony Davis can do it, because if LeBron James can do
Baby, and I
it, because if
agree
Kobe
with
Bryant
you.
can do it.
Okay, and I agree with you. But he's got to learn where to draw the line.
He's
is my
38 years
point.
old. There is not going to be a line drawn at this stage of his career.
That you just said exactly what I was saying earlier. I hope he doesn't carry his bad habits with him about not knowing where to draw the line. Only time will tell. We're going to have to agree to disagree on this one.
Well, if Minnesota doesn't look at Kevin
Now,
Garnett,
if he's happy being back home, maybe he will take it upon himself.
if Minnesota doesn't look at Kevin Garnett as a mentor, then they're sunk. They're all stupid. They're all stupid. Because, oh wait, let me look at Kevin Martin as a mentor.
Baby, I'm not arguing.
Let me look
this
at
point.
Ricky Rubio as a mentor. Oh, give me a break. When you have Kevin Garnett on your roster, you're going to look at Rubio as a mentor? That just doesn't make any sense.
If he's throwing one of his temper
Doesn't make any
tantrums or
sense.
he's out there on the floor pissed off at the world, you're not going to go to him as a mentor.
Doesn't make any sense.
Well, this is one of those that we're just going to have to agree to disagree. I hope now that he's happy and he's back home, he will calm down some. You tell me a player that's more angry on the floor than he is.
DeMarcus Cousins. But we make excuses for him.
I do not make it.
Everybody in the damn world. DeMarcus Cousins was an all-star. But leads the league in techno.
Not.
Wait! DeAndre Jordan!
I don't make excuses for him either.
But he's leading the league in rebounding. But he's leading the league in blocks. He's leading the league in field goal percentage. It's okay for him to do that.
The only reason he's leading the league in blocks and rebounds is because he's got the height behind him and nobody wants to mess with him.
But is that not an advantage to a team?
Yeah, but
That nobody wants to attack
yeah,
you?
but that doesn't make it right because it's nothing but intimidation.
Kendrick Perkins is intimidation for Cleveland. You said it in the debate earlier.
You're right, I did.
Why is it not the same for Kevin
You're
Garnett?
right, I did.
Does Kendrick Perkins not have an attitude? Is Kendrick Perkins not a hothead? Oh.
Okay,
He played on the same team
I know that.
as Kevin Garnett.
I know that.
For
I
those
remember.
Boston Celtics.
I remember that. I remember some of those rounds on the floor.
So if we can say that Kendrick Perkins is going to provide that to Cleveland, then why can't we say Garnett's going to do it for Minnesota?
Time will tell. It's that imaginary line that KG crosses sometimes. We'll just have to agree to disagree on that.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I'm entitled to my opinion.
All right. Part 2 ends here. Part 3 is going to come at you next.